All right, well, hello everyone. Good morning. Welcome back to our Everyday Disciples podcast. It's good to be together. You know me, I'm Brad, and I'm here with friend Richard Holinga, and we're having a conversation this morning just about what home groups looks like and how that's been a big part of your life, and I'm pretty excited for it. But as we've kind of been starting off this podcast, would you just tell us a bit about who you are? What are you up to in life? Who are you?
The older you get, the longer that story becomes. I think the short version is that if I think about from a church perspective, I grew up in a church and really valued sort of the logical thinking around, the world making sense. Let's pick up, and so I'm an engineer by training, so big left brain, underdeveloped right brain. That's changing, and I would say maybe about 10 or 12 years ago, something started changing, and I can't quite describe that, but my best explanation, my best way of describing it is that I felt like I was being changed on the inside. And it's like, I wasn't really in control of it. Like, it's not like an act of will, which is, I'm going to eat less or I'm going to exercise more. It was something that started happening. I found out later that somebody was praying for me. And it's like, oh, like I don't have any other explanation for it. And during that time, I was here at WMB and started to become involved in a home group. We ended up, Lynette and I, being the leaders of the home group, and I found that kind of like what would you say, like a vortex which drew me in. Like it's like, oh, I really want to understand more about this, and I really want to understand like who Jesus is, and I care about these people that I'm with, and I started having experiences which was like, I can only describe as being changed on the inside. I bumped into the Bible Project and went, oh my goodness. And I started to fall in love with the Bible in ways that even today surprise me. It's like, my goodness, that's an amazing book. And I wanted others to sort of start having the same kinds of experiences. And that's what kind of, I guess, ultimately resulted in this conversation. So right now, I am actually really stoked about being able to, I don't know, in a slightly bigger way, like not only be able to help in my own home group, but be able to help in some other home groups. And I'm pretty stoked about that. So and so I'm sort of considering this one of my part-time jobs.
Yes. Yes. One of many, right?
Yeah, I have a few other ones. My other thing right now is AI. I'm involved in an AI startup, which those two things together regularly blow my mind. The Bible regularly blows my mind, and AI regularly blows my mind in very different ways.
Totally. That's awesome. Cool. Well, another question we've been asking is just, and I think you answered a little bit of this already, is just like, what makes you feel fully alive as a person? What just excites you? What gets you up in the morning? And even what's contributing to this conversation we're having right now?
So what makes me feel fully alive? So, I've been really fortunate to be able to experience lots of things in life. I've been able to travel to other places. I've had, occasionally, I've been treated to a great bottle of wine. I've been treated to amazing meals, and they're all wonderful. But they have their limits. Like, don't expect them to give your life purpose and meaning. And I feel fully alive when I'm contributing, when I'm contributing in a way that, what's the quote? Lynette has it at the bottom of her email, and so does Elisa Shu, and it's something like, you know, you feel most fully alive when you're at the intersection of your gifting and the world's greatest need. And that is true. And you know, I'm just so amazed that us human beings have this magnetic pull to comfort and safety.
Yeah, right.
And what I found is you can achieve that. You can achieve great comfort and safety, but you won't feel fully alive. And being fully alive means, I think, contributing. God, go back to Genesis 1, which we'll talk about, but, you know, God gave us a job. He didn't say, I've built you this beautiful garden and there's a couple of easy chairs there.
Yeah.
That wasn't how he thought about this. And that has been my experience is when you're operating out of, when you're contributing and when that contribution comes out of genuinely who you are, and when it's not just contributing in meaningless ways, but meaningful ways, that's amazing. Yeah. That's a great feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love that you bring that up. I was just up at Camp Crossroads earlier this summer and I was speaking to their youth, the Youth Week campers. And the whole theme of the week was, what does it look like? What does it mean to be made in the image of God?
Yeah.
We are. And that, what you just talked about was something that we brought up in the sense that God gave us a purpose for living.
Exactly.
You have a reason to be here.
Right.
In fact, when you live into that, one of these phrases you hear is be your most authentic self, which I think can get skewed quite quickly.
Yeah.
But when we think about how living into the purpose, the design that God has for us in being made in his image, being his representatives, that is our most authentic self. Mm-hmm. And what you just described there, I think just hits it right on.
Yeah.
And that's just a really cool way to think about what does it look like to go through life, living into your purpose, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're talking, it comes to mind that when I think about people in my life, who model what it means to be truly alive, you're one of the people who models what it's like to be truly alive. When I speak with you or meet you, you don't model for me, oh my goodness, I've been called by God, I guess I got to do this. There is a genuine feeling fully alive in the experiences that you share about people seeing Jesus, and I think that's very cool.
Likewise.
I think that's very cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Well,
Get that. Can you try again?
Thanks, Siri. We don't tightly edit on here, so enjoy that. Man, no, that's cool. Thank you for that. Just even recognizing that, because I love that.
And I love hanging around with people that are like that. Actually, if I have a choice to hang around with people, I just find people that seek comfort as their highest. They're not very interesting people.
No, not at all.
And so I love to hang around with people that, I don't have to agree with me or anything, but just that. Yeah.
Well, that's a neat way to kind of bring in the home groups conversation.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of what the intention of this podcast and this recording and this conversation is all around, because home groups are one of these things that we have within our church that I believe are part of what Jesus has called us to, and part of what it means to actually live into his kingdom, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
In unity.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to kind of shift into that, and maybe just going off of what you said, one of my favorite YouTube channels is called Yes Theory. Okay. And they're not Christian or anything like that, but they basically explore the world, right, especially kind of the remote or kind of the last visited places in the world.
I think I've seen that.
Have you seen these guys?
Yeah,
and their tagline is seek discomfort.
Right.
And basically that you're going to find kind of more of who you really are when you go and seek that discomfort, when you go and meet people you would otherwise never really meet.
Right.
When you get to know them for who they are, when you see their humanity, when you see kind of what brings them life. And so they go to just war-torn places,
the City Island Nation was the one I think I saw.
Yeah. Just these remote places or places you would never think to travel as a
Right.
tourist,
Right.
but they don't want to go to the touristy spots. They want to get to know the people.
Right.
And there's divides in terms of like there's just like vast differences in terms of culture and like, you know, worldview, and yet they can unite on this piece of being human. And I think there's something about that is really cool when it comes to home groups. So I would love to shift there. So, you know, a question for you, you kind of brought up that you've been a part of this home group, you ended up leading it, that you've been transformed from the inside. Like, did your home group have a role to play in there? What did it look like in terms of just being transformed through the process of being in a home group?
Yeah. So I don't think if you talk to anybody in the home group, they would have said, well, we're trying to change Richard on the inside. That's not how these things work. But I would say just like sitting with a small group of people, trying to take what Jesus says seriously and puzzling that through. And, you know, to the extent that we're comfortable, like sharing what goes on, like how in our own lives we connect what Jesus is saying with like how we're doing, that experience is very cool. And I constantly learn from the people in my home group, but they don't know that I learned from them. Like, it's like, oh, like I'll think like 3 days later, I'll go, oh, you know, so-and-so said this and it really stuck with me. But I doubt that person understands that what they said stuck with me. And, you know, I think that's kind of cool. It's like, if you start, like, you can't arrange that stuff. You can't make it happen. But when the Spirit I mean, the only way I can think about it is the Spirit must be showing up.
Yeah.
And these little things are happening, but not because we're such brilliant people and are designing these outcomes, right? So that was my experience. And I see, just observing other people over the years, that's happening with them too.
Yeah.
And I, like, you can't buy that. Like, you can't buy it. So, like, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's so neat because, like, when I think back to some of my own, like, most obvious times of spiritual growth in my life, you know, one of the things I look back on is one of my, like, my first year of university was at Redeemer.
Right.
And yeah, like, I was in a dorm with, you know, 7 other dudes, and part of our routine was that we had time together every single week to be in scripture, to share testimony, to confess what's going on in our lives, and that was one of the periods of, you know, the most radical growth spiritually for me in my life.
It's deeply uncomfortable to like, you know, I find myself often going, okay, well, am I going to talk about that part of myself at home group? And I don't have that perfect at all. But every time there is a little bit that we share amongst ourselves, there is that growth. I suspect a group of young guys would have been like more just all in on that.
Yes and no. Like actually, this is a neat piece when I think about leadership too, and I'm sure you've felt this as well, where your vulnerability or willingness to set an example, it begets more vulnerability and more sharing. I remember, you know, in that same group in my first year of university, we were sharing testimonies, and I went and I kind of just laid it all out on the table. And I like, this is what my life has looked like. I was honest about my struggles. And I just remember one of my roommates afterwards, he came to me, was just like, so I should have had my testimony a little bit more honest, because he shared, I think, the week before, and he basically said, like, thank you for just going there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. In another part of my life, I've studied trust, like what is trust and how do you build trust? And one of the best ways to build trust is to be vulnerable and be honest with people. And I later concluded that it's like, what have I actually got to lose? Right?
Yeah.
What have I actually got to lose by being vulnerable? I mean, maybe somebody will gossip about me. It's like, okay, but that's, you know, if like that would be really painful and that would hurt. But if that's who I am, then the freedom that brings is, I think, outweighs I mean, that's the whole reason why I signed up for Freedom Session.
Oh yeah.
The most unpleasant, beneficial thing I've done.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about not comfortable, but I mean, I'm not an ice bath kind of person, so I'm not seeking discomfort, but totally
that way. Yeah, for sure. I'm not an ice bath person either.
No, I mean, I admire people who do it, and you don't seek comfort. I go for it. Yeah. And I'm sure, sure Wim Hof is right, that it's really beneficial, but
probably. Yeah, and that's a neat way to flow into another kind of thing that we've been talking about lately. And maybe I should kind of mention too, just Richard and I, we've been on a really cool journey over the past year and a half around discipleship and home groups. And so we've been creating content together for a home group ministry. You've been a huge part of my life, just in terms of I look up to you as a mentor and a coach, and what that means in terms of.
You don't have enough people in your life.
But seriously, it's been really good. And I've really enjoyed just the relationship we've had, as well as along with, we've had a team of people in overseeing a lot of what we've been doing in home groups. Right. It's been a ton of fun. And you're stepping into more of a major role with that in a while too. Did you want to share anything about what you're going to be doing? Yeah, I'm pretty, because I see home groups as such a great place. You know, just back to when you take a look at how Jesus acted, I was just thinking he didn't actually spend most of his time on mountains preaching. He spent most of his time hanging around with people. Yeah, totally. And the stories that, that really kind of land with you are the ones where he was interacting with other people. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so if our only experience of being involved in a church community is getting together, as Chris used to say, in rows on a Sunday, it's like, we're kind of missing a whole big piece. Absolutely. And so pretty passionate about that. And so I always thought that home groups should be fundamentally relational, like people to people. And so we're trying to set up, and what that means is the home group leader is the person like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we could empower and enable home group leaders? That would be so cool. Yes. And then it's like, well, how can we do that? Well, how about we get a small team together who is uses home group principles like relational working together with home group leaders and empowers and enables them. And that's really the heart behind this. And I'm just the coordinator. I'm not it's kind of cool to see stuff coming together. I know, I always be careful with this. I have this sense the Spirit is in it because stuff is coming together that I couldn't orchestrate, right? So I have that sense, I'm really interested to see how this is going to work out. Yeah, I agree. I'm on the journey just like anyone else. So so that's the heart behind it, and Okay, so I have a follow-up question to that I think will be helpful. Why home groups? What's the advantage of doing something like this as a church? You talked there about it's not enough to just be in a row on a Sunday morning. That's not actually what Jesus is calling us to. That's a part of it for sure. But it's not the whole thing. We've talked lots about that as a church. What is the advantage? What's the benefit? Why a home group? What's that actually doing? Well, Jesus didn't come to, create some nice sayings so you could paste them on your wall. He wanted to change lives. And all you have to do is look at, go read again
the guys who were hanging around him, well, actually the men and women who were hanging around with him while he was there preaching, and then look at them after Pentecost, and you go, oh my goodness, like these guys, well, all of them, the men and women, were changed from the inside in ways that, I mean, like go to your local bookstore and go to the self-help section, and you will not find that kind of transformation that occurs. And so what that tells me is you're not gonna okay, the Spirit blows where it wills. So don't want to, but to put yourself in a place where you are likely to be transformed is to put yourself in a home group or equivalent. And I was introduced to the song "I Could Just Sit," or what's it called? Call Me Higher.
Yeah, I wanted to.
I was introduced to that here at. I must have bumped into it at WMB, and so
We've been singing it for a while.
We've been singing it for a while, and I think maybe the second or third time I went, oh my goodness, like this is exactly the choice that's put in front of us, and I've begun to think of it as the theme song for home groups, and so I happen to have a copy with me. So just like all good worship songs, it has about 10 lines that we sing over and over. And it's like this. I could just sit and wait for all your goodness, and I could hope to feel your presence, because that's a really great feeling, right? When you have that. Yeah. I could just sit right where I am and hope to feel you. And I could hold on. So that's the first part. And it's like, I think, okay, I won't talk about other people, but for me, if I just came to church on a Sunday, that's what would describe me. I could sit and I'm hoping to feel your goodness. And then it goes on. I could hold on to who I am, and it's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Well, I want to hold
the comfort thing comes.
The comfort thing, like
both the comfort of just like the experiencing something that feels good on a Sunday morning, which is true. Like
that's great.
That's great. And then hold on to who I am. Right?
Well, that's what I want to do. I want to hold on to who I am. Well, because changing is really uncomfortable. I could hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. And you got to be okay with Jesus changing you on the inside.
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, am I okay with that? And that's a big statement of trust, right? And I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home. And it's back to this comfort thing, which is like, I feel drawn to that comfort. And then the line goes, but you have called me higher. Yeah. And it's like, that's right. Go read chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Genesis again. He's got bigger ideas for who we are. He didn't create this world it's not like a terrarium.
No.
For your iguana to live in, and live a
iguana?
No, I don't. But if I had an iguana, I would make a beautiful terrarium for it, and so it could be happy. Yeah. But that's not what God did, and so.
No, you ever notice how, right, like Genesis 2:15 says that God put the man in the garden to work it and take care of it.
Exactly.
And it was like he never intended for the garden or the person to just remain as they are.
Yeah.
Like he invited us to partner with him in how he ruled our world in the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? And he actually wanted to partner with us. And
which
to invite
blows my mind.
Process.
It's like
there's a calling there.
God, that's your worst idea ever. It hasn't worked out very well.
And yet he still wanted that.
Exactly.
He loves us to that point. And then at the end of Scripture, the beginning of Scripture starts in the garden.
Yeah.
The end of Scripture starts in a garden-like city.
Right.
Right. In Revelation, where it describes Jerusalem, the new heaven, the new earth.
Right.
And it doesn't look like the garden anymore.
It doesn't.
Because
it's got lots of trees that are flourishing with the river flowing out of it, flowing out of the temple.
There's the city,
it's amazing.
People within it, right? Like there's that partnership with God.
Absolutely.
It's come to its fruition. It's come to its fullness. Yeah. That's amazing. Like that's part of that calling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say every one of us is faced with a choice. Let's say you accept that Jesus runs the world. Then you've faced with a choice. Do you want to to, like it says here, just sit and wait for all your goodness, and you can do that, right? But you have called me higher. And it's like, okay, so I'm not saying everybody needs to be in a home group, but go find an equivalent. Go find a place like your guys in dorm or in the house. Go find that place because you have called me higher. You expect me to be digging in and changing from the inside. I often think that, like, I'm not sure if this is right, but I often think that, like, I think we've got this life eternal thing a little wrong. And I imagine that that after I die and the new heaven and the new earth are created, I think I'll have a job.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I might end up having to run a planet. I don't know that, but don't you know you're going to be ruling angels? And at first I thought that's not possible, but I checked. There's actually a lot more stars than there are people that have ever lived. So who knows?
Yeah.
So I've been thinking that, I should really get ready for whatever that next job is. And that's another thing, like, you've called me higher, right? So we're called to be continually transformed. And I just think home groups are one way to do that. And a pretty, like, nobody's asking you to climb Mount Everest. It's join a home group. Be vulnerable.
I think one of the pieces I've seen over the last years I've been leading home groups, there's often a fear around, like, inviting others in and saying, like, let's go on this journey together, or even thinking about, like, how do I model what it means to follow Jesus in community to those around me? So, a fear I often hear is, like, I'm not sure if I want to get involved in this because it means I have to be vulnerable, or like, I don't want to bring another person in because I don't have trust with them yet. But you mentioned earlier that trust takes vulnerability and risk. But it's so interesting, right? Like, some of the studies that we can see around this, it's actually the groups who do those things, who take the risk together, that end up being the closest. That's actually how you get close with each other, right?
Totally.
So, like, I would just want to encourage our church around this, that yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's kind of the whole point. Jesus was never calling us to comfort. But the cool thing in that is that you actually, you grow together, and in a way, you become comfortable with each other in a healthy way, right? It's not like an unhealthy comfort, because you're actually living out something together, and you're growing close through that. Kind of like in the same way, like, I think of the way a hockey team would, they've been through a lot together. They've gotten each other's backs. They've worked hard at something. And they've pursued a goal together. Like, they've been brought together in a really cool way. I think home group does exactly that.
For somebody who's really reluctant to get involved, I'd say, So what's your alternative? If you believe you're being called higher, what's your alternative? Like, I'm okay with that, but what's your choice? Are you going to just sit at home? Are you going to just sit and wait to feel your presence? Like, okay. Totally. But if you feel you're being called higher, then, and it's not home groups, it's like, okay, that's good. Then what's your other choice? And the other thing I would say is, I didn't quite realize how deeply the consumer mindset had impacted me. And so when I started to think about, like, at first I thought about home groups, I go, well, why would I go there? What's it going to do for me? And it's like, well, maybe nothing. Maybe nothing. And I thought, but I had this sense even early on that I think, I didn't know the words at the time, but it was sort of like, I think I'm being called to something higher. But now I'm thinking about this differently, and I'm thinking about it like, why don't you show up at home group, and why don't you try and be a blessing for the other people that are there? Now, why would you do that? Like, what does that do for me? It's because you've been called higher. It's because, do you want to try do you want to see what it's like to try to spend time with Jesus, to try to be like him and try to do what he did? You know, what a great safe place to do it than in a home group.
Yeah.
Like just show up and try to be that blessing to the people around and see how it works out.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to stand on the corner of the street and start, like, just try it out there. And so rather than thinking about what am I going to get out of it, well, you've been called higher. So how are you going to play that out? And maybe here's one way that you can do that, and you can try and you can go, well, I think maybe if I said this or provided that meal or whatever, I could be a blessing. And maybe you're going to reflect on that later and you're going to go, yeah, you know, that's not the best way to be a blessing. Let me try something else. And I think the home group is a great way to do that.
Yeah.
You know, just back to the vulnerability thing, we always invoke Vegas rules, which is what gets said in home group stays in home group. And I think that, you know, at the beginning, everybody agrees to that. Do you agree that what, you know, stays here, what's said here stays here? And sometimes that's hard to do, but, you know, that we can remind each other. And then the other thing is that we all agree that the reason we're here is to become better disciples. It's not,
Exactly.
I mean, we love, you know, over time we've gotten to like each other and to love each other. But it isn't, but we're not getting together because we want to eat good food. We do, but that isn't the reason we get together. And you know, and some people have left our home group because that's, I don't know why, but maybe it's because that wasn't their priority, and it's like, that's okay. Yeah, anyways, thank you for, I think Fathom would have told me I was just in a monologue, so sorry about that.
No, that's good. I liked the monologue just the same. Yeah. No, this is really good. So, like, you know, maybe I'll kind of wrap up with a question around just like dreaming. You know, what would be your
dream
for home groups at WMB?
Oh yeah,
the next 5 years or something.
Okay, well, yeah.
What do you want it to look like?
So dreams are powerful. They motivate me, and in my dreams, I imagine that most people who call themselves people at WMB, most people have decided that, yeah, Jesus is calling me higher, and I'm not comfortable with just sitting and waiting for his presence. And I think he's got a job for me to do. Back to what makes me feel alive. You know, my gift and the world's greatest need. Like, I think he might have something like that for me. And so that if that happens, and most people who, like, it's kind of a pain to be part of a church, right? Like you know, seriously? People are gnarly, and so it's like, so it would be like, I'm hoping that people are there because it's like Jesus has spoken to them, and they have this sense that they're being called higher. And when they feel like they're being called higher, they're involved with some sort of a small group. Many of them, I think, will be home groups. So my dream is that I hear stories about people being drawn closer. The three things: they spend time with Jesus, they become like him, and they do what he did. And I want to hear, I'm expecting, I'm expecting to hear stories about people who are being drawn closer. Like, the Spirit isn't lazy. Like, the Spirit works in people, and I'm expecting that that'll happen. And I'm hoping that not 5 years from now, but in the next year, we're going to hear stories about people who, oh my goodness, like, Jesus got a hold of me, or the Spirit got a hold of me, and wow, the Bible is amazing. I had no idea. That was my experience, and I'm hoping that the majority of people who show up or affiliate themselves somehow with WMB go, yeah, Jesus has called me higher. I feel that.
Yeah.
And here's how I'm playing that out. And I expect that a large number of them will be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. You said earlier about the world's greatest need too. I just think about how much there is a loneliness epidemic right now.
Oh my goodness.
Mental health crisis.
Absolutely.
AI, you mentioned AI earlier too. Like, there's a lot of stats right now around how AI's number one use is for companionship.
Yeah.
Like our world is desperate for community, but not just community for the sake of it. It's like people want to be part of something that's beyond themselves. It's greater than themselves. Purpose, right?
Purpose and
Jesus-centered community, like what we experience in a home group, is a way to see that like come to reality. And so, I just think about how much and I'll say, like, from what I'm experiencing in my own life, in the relationships I'm having with those around me, in my neighborhood, my friendships that are outside the church with non-Christians, I'm seeing that firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm seeing how people are going like, oh, that sounds really cool.
Right, exactly.
Like I hope that our home groups are a witness.
Absolutely.
And people look in at it and just go, whoa, there's something there that I'm seeking something like that.
Well, again, when I was thinking about that, it came back to this deep sense of, do I think about this as a consumer? Like, what's it doing for me?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're there,
Yeah.
you will be unhappy with every place that you go. Like, maybe ChatGPT won't.
Yeah,
It won't
because
fail
it's
you.
always saying the thing you want it to.
You're right, but the people will always let you down. But when you think, wait a minute, you have called me higher, well, that flips it around.
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh.
Yeah. It's not so much about what you get from this, it's what are you giving to this? And when we're all doing that together, we're actually giving it, we're living into something greater than ourselves, right? It's like, love God, love others. It's being lived out.
Well, I want to hang around with people I want to hang around with people who believe that they've been called higher.
Yes.
Not people who are, going, what are you doing for me lately? It's just a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it.
Absolutely.
It's just a lot more fun.
It really is. Yeah. And
Thanks, Brad.
yeah, thanks for this, Rich. This is a cool conversation.
Yeah.
I really do think there's a ton of deep meaning within doing this as a community.
Yeah.
And I do think the world's watching. And so church, like, we're excited to be doing this. Richard and then myself, along with Adam Knowles, we're going to be heading up a lot of the stuff around home groups in the next little while. And so, come talk to us. Like, there's a whole bunch of logistics. Like, what do we actually do at a home group? How do you get involved with one? What does leadership look like? How do I become a leader? That's all stuff we can talk about. And I think that's important. But I think I'll just end off by saying, like this is worth it. Doing this together is worth it.
Yeah.
I've experienced it over and over again. Even the hard parts, right? Like, they're worth it. I know you can relate to that for sure. So, so thanks so much for this.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to what's to come.
Great. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah.